Howdy, mates. Good afternoon. How are we all doing today? Are we keeping this as a tenacious Tuesday, perhaps? Hopefully so. Anyway, I'm actually visiting the city of Dayton, Ohio. I'm actually visiting Ohio for a couple of days with Thanksgiving just around the corner, and my mother had the work today, so I figured with a day like this, it was a good opportunity to visit a couple of museums in this area. And I tell you what, after just spending a couple of hours here, I think after being away for so long, I think it's had me realize that Dayton actually has quite a bit to offer in terms of like natural areas as well as historic sites. I'm just like, this day has just been astounding, considering, I spent most of my life growing up in Ohio prior to my further travels. And so, in particular right now, I'm visiting what is known as the Dayton Aviation Dayton Aviation Heritage National Historic Park. That's a mouthful. But anyway, this place dedicates to where the Wright Brothers lived. Now, the Wright family, there were up to 7 kids, but only 5 out of the 7 survived. But when we hear the Wright brothers, we usually associate with Wilbur and Orville Wright. Now, Wilbur was the older brother, Orville was the younger, by a difference of 4 years. And so this particular site right here was where their home used to be located. And they also lived here with their sister, Catherine. They were the siblings who remained unmarried. Now, what makes the Wright brothers so monumental in terms of history is they came up with the design of the first practical airplane. That's what you need to know right off the bat. And I'm sure some of us know the story of where, when they were going towards that prospect of learning more about flight, they contacted the U.S. Weather Service, and they needed to have a plot of land where they could test one of their first models that they designed. And it turned out that Kitty Hawk was the most ideal, considering that they needed to be in an area that had a sustained amount of wind, and that was also open and a little more private. And so you could say it was at Kitty Hawk where they managed to lift off a model in a matter of, say, just 30 seconds before it would land down again. But you have to figure the Wright brothers, they were very well known for their studious nature when it came to engineering. They had no formal education. They didn't even go to college. But they had that enthusiasm, which still makes a difference to this day. You figure, prior to them getting into aviation, they did other forms of work. They owned like a bicycle shop And then prior to that, they worked highly in the printing press, both of the brothers. So let's just say they had a very close relationship with one another. And so, once they learned about, I'm trying to remember his name, Olienthal, something like that. He was a German, and he was also testing like early forms of aircraft. That really inspired them to pursue that particular field. No pun intended. But not too far from here, they had another site, which is now known as the Huffman Prairie. And that was really where the bulk of their flight testing was located. And it was actually in Dayton where they were able to successfully have a design for an aircraft that was able to stay in the air for 39 minutes. And that had never happened before. And you figure this was in 1905. So this is just a little before World War I. And so, while they were in the bicycle industry, what made them distinctive in their innovation was they kept balance in mind. So, to achieve balance, you need to have control. And so they had to keep in mind about the different axes for controlling their model, whether it was for steering or warping their wings, and even moving up and down. So it's like after this visit here, it was quite eye-opening, I think, as to why Ohio is really heralded as the birthplace of aviation. Because it was through them that essentially made aviation possible, whether it was for military or leisure or even for commercial flights. Were it not for them, maybe it would have taken a little longer for aviation to become possible. Who can say? But either way, it's a really cool story. Alright, you guys, take care. Have a good one.